We're live. All right. I want to thank Mr. John Turley for joining us on the Music Lounge. He is with the Crowtown Squatchers, as you can see. And we have a little Bigfoot on the background. You can see on the screen up there.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. We'll just jump right into it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, John.
Oh, okay. Well, John Turley, born in, well, I shouldn't say born in Cambridge, but raised in Coshocton, lived here all my life. Grew up here, got to, had a great childhood here. Played baseball and rode my bike all over Coshocton and got to meet people and had a great time in school growing up. I mean, I love Coshocton people. You hear there's a lot of grumblings like on Facebook all the time, like Coshocton's terrible and nothing to do. And
I have a feeling those people, wherever they lived, would be terrible.
that's what I agree. It's like you could live in the Emerald City of Oz and you would be.
I was born and raised here, man, and I, like you said, I remember going down to Shaheen's and getting something to drink out of their pop machine, and and going down to Bud's and getting penny candy and Richie's carry out, and so yeah, I love Coshocton. Some of the people can kind of, but
Yeah,
that's everywhere.
they somebody had that on Facebook the other day, a picture of Richie's and
Gardenias, yeah.
And I'm like, man, that was the greatest thing ever. You go over there and get a slice of pizza from Mr. Gardenia from saying a Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, we would play rec ball, baseball at the fairgrounds every Saturday morning, and then it was just like we would stop by there and you could say the pledge and you get a free slice of pizza. I think it was me and Anthony Brown stopped by there one time, and took the trash out and swept off the porch, and he gave us like a couple slices of pizza, or a pizza like somebody never come and got or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, it seemed like 100 years ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. We did the same thing. Me and Chad McMullen, we stopped there and told him like all this stuff about the state bird and the state, state tree, state plant, and he seemed very impressed. And he like gave us like a half a pizza for all that stuff. I was like, we're doing all that research.
Right. It's funny too. It's like, and not to stereotype anybody, but he was that Italian American, like, come here, got a dream, got a pizza shop. You know what I mean? From what I remember as a kid, he just seemed that way.
Yeah. He seemed happy as heck. Doing what he was doing.
He never chased you out or anything, So you must have been all right.
Must have been okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, growing up here, I thought it was fantastic, and I started partying and we had a lot of fun. We were talking, you were talking earlier about bandos, and we had all that crowd going on in the early '90s, and we had a lot of fun doing that. Obviously it's a music lounge, so we, I got involved in the band of Kronos back in the '90s, and we played together for about 5 years, and after that, things kind of went downhill for me personally. I got into a lot of, first I started having some physical issues. Then I got into some legal issues. Then I really started having some physical issues with my liver.
Right.
So I got diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver back in 2010. And, it was literally quit drinking or die.
I remember I seen you like in passing, and you were like, yeah, man, they just said, hey, it's one way or the other. There's no other way. So.
Yeah. The doctor actually told my mother and my sister to take him home and call hospice. He'll be dead in 6 months.
Wow.
And she was like, it's funny because my sister and her are friends, and she's like, your brother's a miracle. He really is. And,
that's awesome.
But it was one of those things. It literally was. It was kind of, it was one of those moments in your life where you're like, you got a choice right here.
Right.
You either,
And you had a good run, man. You know?
That's what, I see you always want to tell her
I'm not trying to make light of it.
No,
I'm not really.
but it's funny now, but
right?
it wasn't funny
no,
then.
it was. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No,
make
it's
light
okay.
of it,
It's I make fun of it all the time. I mean, I went pro early,
right?
And I
you
batted
blew out your
1,000 for
ACL,
20,
and you were like, I'm out.
I hit 50 home runs
Right.
every year for 20 years.
Doctor said, John, you're done.
And I was done, and I had to quit.
There was no cortisone shots in the kneecap.
No,
good for you,
I
man.
was going to save you there. So,
right.
Got into, actually went where I work now at CBHC. That's where I went to get kind of things straightened out, and started doing AA meetings and met a lot of great people there, which kind of led me to, getting back involved in the Bigfoot stuff too. That's what going to AA and talking about stuff is really cathartic. Going to therapy is very cathartic.
Right.
You're talking to people about all these thoughts you're having, and the same thing with the Bigfoot conferences. When I started going to them, it was like talking to people about some things that had happened to me when I was a kid, and they weren't looking at me like, "Oh, sure, John,
right, yeah.
Let me call the rubber truck for you."
right.
So it wasn't, it was really cool to have people that they would listen to you and not judge you.
Right,
Which is what we all want.
Yeah, because that's the biggest fear is like anything that's different that you do from everybody. You know what I mean? If it's it's always like you always fear what you don't understand, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I didn't have health issues or anything. I used to party a lot too, man, and I had to slow down just because I got tired of like waking up and being broke and not knowing where my truck was. When you gotta go look out the window and it's like, oh, thank God it's here. You know what I mean? You can only ride that horse so long. But
oh yeah, and there was
you,
obviously many a nights where that was the case.
Right.
Where you wake up and you don't know where your vehicle is. You don't know where you is.
Yeah, or you think who do I have to call and apologize to, or the worst would be when somebody would come up to you and be like, "Oh my God, last night," and it may not have been like, you weren't necessarily like a jerk. Maybe you could have been the life of the party, but sometimes that was embarrassing too. Like I've never seen you hula dance before, or so, like, oh my God. But and when I heard that you were going into that, man, I thought that cat is perfect. That is perfect for you, man. You like in your business, man. It's very people. They're good manipulators.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they've manipulated their spouses or their families to get this, to be able to do what they want to do. And I just thought they're not going to bullshit John, man. They ain't gonna get over on Turley. That's what I thought. There's no way, man. Like,
well, it's kind of and it's funny because a lot of the people that are addicts and alcoholics that come to treatment, they feel more comfortable talking to somebody who's kind of been down that road, right?
Right.
But it's a double-edged sword for them because, and I will tell them this. I used to say this in group all the time, and I'll tell people one-on-one. I'm like, you got to remember that when you ask for somebody who has walked the walk, that I don't buy your bullshit and I don't co-sign your bullshit because most of the lies you're telling me, I made them up long before you were even alive.
Right. It's like, nah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like you can't bullshit a bullshitter, and that's the truth. Yeah. And the like you said, the manipulation and the things like that, they
get really good at it, man. But when it's like, come on, like I said, as soon as I heard that you were going into that field, I thought that would be great. Because first of all, I thought anybody that like when you go to get a tattoo, if that dude ain't got like a piercing or a bunch of tattoos himself, do you really want to get a tattoo from that guy? You know what I mean? Or if you walked into a butcher shop and the guy was that big around and he only ate vegetables, would you really buy a steak off that guy? So, and it just like people that are like them. You know what I mean? They want to see, oh, well, hell, he was like me, and look what he got. He got accomplished. So, yeah, good for you, man. That's awesome.
And and I say that too. I want to say that I want to add a little caveat to that because what gets us in, it's great that whatever draws us into recovery, and that's the important part. But once you get in there, you start to realize, drug addiction, mental health are just flip sides of the same coin, right? So,
right.
Like, obviously, there's some things going on. You didn't choose to become a raging alcoholic or a drug addict. because like things were just peachy keen in your life most of the time.
Right.
So when you get to that, when you get into recovery, then you really need to talk to people who know mental health and what they're talking about. And when and I'm privileged to work for people I work for now. My bosses, my two bosses, are just incredible people, and they were the ones there to help me kind of sort out all this, garbage that's flying around up in your head. Why do you think this way? That's when you need people who maybe weren't necessarily addicts, but they know what the solution is. And you got to remember, the solution doesn't lie in the problem. The solution lies really in recovery, in the 12 steps, and getting better. And how do you get better? You need to know what that bad thing, we call it stinking thinking.
Right.
You got to know what that stinking thinking is. When you're making these decisions as an addict and an alcoholic, you're doing stuff that's kind of crazy. It's a little bit like, don't do that.
Right.
But, how do I get my brain wrapped around not doing those things?
Right.
So you got to learn from people that can help you with that.
Because if you've never been around anybody that was, you elevate your game to the people that you're around. If you've never been in an encouraging and positive environment with, certain people in your life, then you're not going to know what that is when you do see it until somebody points it out to you, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And we talk about that in recovery all the time. You'll hear people say it. You need to find new playgrounds and new playmates.
Right.
You can't just, hey, I got sober, I'm going to go hang out with, everybody at Bandos again.
Right.
Like you can't go down there to the,
Right. And some people, they think they can, and then they use it as a reward. Like, oh, I drank for over a year, man. I'll have a beer. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that's the worst possible way to look at it. But a lot of people do. That's the human animal, though, man. You just justify what your brain will let you do. It's like your brain will go, yeah, that'll work, Bill. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. And we are our biggest enablers.
Oh, yeah.
We love to enable ourselves, and we'll justify anything that we can do. You just, like you said, you deserve.
Right.
You deserve that beer.
Right, man. I didn't want a whole year without one.
Yeah. You deserve a big cold, a cold one.
Well, even though like with food, like baked goods, my wife. Oh yeah, by the way, the crazy cake lady at 119 South 6th Street, delicious baked goods. And
the cookies are fantastic, by the way.
I'm living proof it's all good. But I will justify reasons just to go in the kitchen when she's making Buckeyes, just because I'll be like, oh, I better go see if she needs anything washed. It's like, then I'll go to the front room and I'll hear her, say something, and normally I would just yell from the couch, what? But then I'll go into the kitchen and be like, oh, did you need something? So yeah, I get it. I guess it's better than drugs, but it is kind of a drug because I would probably hide around the corner and steal them if she
That's true. But you're probably not going to lose your house
and
she won't go to jail for stealing a Buckeye out of the kitchen. Yeah, you may.
There have been times, though, where I would just get in my pocket and get $2 out and be like, here.
Hey,
and then I'll just
look
go
at you go.
And I'll just go into the front room and,
being all grown up about it.
I know.
Here's some money for your stuff that I'm taking out of the kitchen.
Who'd ever thought I grew up? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I grew out.
Got older.
I
don't know if you grew up. That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, I don't think I want to grow up. I've seen grown-ups. They're scary.
Would not recommend.
Right. So you said that this is a music lounge. It doesn't have to be all music, but if anybody is watching or listening or whatever, if you are interested in being on the podcast, just reach out. Either me on Facebook or you can email. What is it? Yeah, I don't know the email. What is it? Studio 117.
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing. Yeah, Gmail.
That was a great.
That's why
plug.
we have Bobby. That's why we have. I don't rehearse anything because I feel like people would be able to tell that I'm awful. This way they have to watch it to find out it's a train wreck.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, come and see Bill's train wreck once every week.
Every Thursday. If you got anything better to do, it's Thursday.
Right.
Yeah, unless you're one of those karaoke people on Thursdays or something.
Oh, man, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. The riverfront.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say, too, back to the music thing, the first time that I ever even knew that you were musical was in high school. And you and I think Andy Boyce did a Bon Jovi.
Yeah,
tune.
we did Dead or Alive at Mr. Redskin.
Mr. Redskin, that's what it was.
And
I was just like, I didn't know Turley was like a singer and was like into music. I knew that Drew and Andy did, you know what I mean? I knew that he kind of played around and stuff, but it's like, wow, that's cool. And then later with Kronos and.
Yeah, and we actually, that is a cool memory because me and Andy, we rehearsed that for, weeks and weeks, and I remember Andy threatening me, like, don't you dare mess this up. I'm like, dude, man, I got this, man. This song's easy. It's a really fun song to sing.
Right.
You know, and I didn't know Andy could sing as well. I guess I did actually, because we've been playing. Andy was kind of like the one that really wanted me to, or encouraged me to, like, I need to start playing a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because like Andy's got some talent.
Yeah, shout out to Andy Boyce.
Yeah, Andy, if you're watching, man. He really inspired me to do stuff, and I'll tell you another. We're gonna go in deep now, Bill, since you got me in this
the
time
deep dive.
frame.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, there's a couple of things. So my dad played music. He was in. He played all the time. I got an old picture of him when he was in the Army in the 60s. He looks like Elvis. He's got that slick back hair. He's got the guitar. And he played a lot. Him and my uncle used to play together. And Dad gave me my first guitar. And I'm like, now you just need to show me how to play it because I had no idea. So he taught me GCD over a weekend because I finally broke down and asked him, like, Dad, will you please teach me how to play this thing?
Right.
And I remember practicing those chords until my fingers were killing.
Right.
You know how when you first, even if you put it down for a little bit and you start.
Yeah, best advice I ever got was from Steve Steitler when it came to playing guitar. He said, play in front of a mirror and don't watch your fingers, watch the mirror. He said, because eventually.
100%.
Yeah, Bobby even said 100%. Yeah. He was like, man, because if not, you'll stare at your hands the entire time. He said, just watch yourself in the mirror. He said, eventually you'll be looking at your face in the mirror. You won't even be watching your hands, or you'll say, oh, I didn't notice that was even hanging on the wall back there. Or he said, you'll just completely forget about it. And I should, for as long as I've been playing, I should be way better than I am because I'm pretty terrible. But my dogs, when I sit around and play, my wife doesn't care. My dogs didn't care. You know what I mean?
That's the way. That you kind of the way I felt is I hit this wall, and I learned a whole bunch of chords, and that was what I needed to do because that's what that's basically what my job was when I was playing in bands. Is people wanted me to sing and they wanted me to play rhythm guitar, so I'm like, I can do that. I'm up for that because all I can do is play chords. I can't do solos, and I can't do anything intricate because my chubby little finger or my chubby big fingers just don't want to work that way. So like I said, Dad taught me that, and it was right before he passed away. So I always felt that was a gift. You think about that. I always thought about that song, "Leader of the Band," and it makes me cry every time I hear it. I think about my dad, and then Andy. We would just play. We jammed all the time and goofed around. And then one time I had a real bad nervous breakdown, like in 91 or 92. And Andy would come over. I would call Andy and will you come over and just play guitar? For a whole week, that was my medicine.
Nice.
That was my therapy. Andy came over to my house and we played guitar and drank gin. And I wouldn't recommend the gin part when you're having a nervous breakdown.
It always tastes like pine needles to me, man. Yeah. And that should have been a red flag.
It's
never drink something that tastes like you should clean your floor with.
Right. If it smells like pine sol, you shouldn't be drinking it.
Right. If you opened up a Budweiser and it smelled like chlorine, you'd be like, no. I think I'll just have something else. Yeah.
I'll put that back.
Right. But no, gin.
Hey,
straight pine sol.
Oh yeah, but
I mean, now we're not going to get any gin sponsorships. But
there goes the Tanqueray sponsor.
Right, they weren't beating the door down anyway, so that was right.
So that was it was a blast. It was that week, and then after that, I started playing with Jamie Navito, and shout out to Navito and Jeff Haas. We were kind of like this basement band. We had Phil Jurvik was playing bass for us, and we were just jamming in the basement. over there on 7th Street.
Bass, yeah.
And, you know, every now and then somebody else would come down, and Lance, God rest his soul, Lance Christ would come over and play. He played bass sometimes. And it was bad.
Right.
But, you know, but it was awesome.
Right.
It was so fun, man. We would just, like, it was like every Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever night it was, we'd go and, like, band practice.
I remember Frazier and I one time were out at Ralph and Leonard's, and there was an acoustic guitar there. And Frazier's always been pretty good on the guitar, you know. He's really good now. Shout out to Mike Markley, my brother. But
everybody's getting a shout out
right.
tonight.
But he was sitting there and he started playing something. I don't know. It could have been Every Rose Has Its Thorn or something. And I started singing it, and then it was like there was like 2 people, and then there would be like 4 people, and then by the time we got done with the song, we may not even have played the whole song. I can't remember because it was at Ralph and Leonard's.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure
there was like this. There was a crowd of people there, and they didn't really like clap or give a standing ovation, but no one booed or threw anything. So I was like,
that's always a good thing.
You know, that's a good response. But yeah, I was just like, that was like I was just like, oh, I want to do this. I want to like. Nobody threw anything. Nobody was like, you suck. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, that's cool. And I just planted a seed. It wasn't until years and years later that I actually did something about it. But like it always stuck in the back of my head, you know, because nobody in my family was musical. Like my parents didn't play an instrument or sang or, you know, that, you know, throwing shoes at us was a pretty good hobby. But other than that, it wasn't like, there was some friends of my grandpa's that used to go out to a fishing cabin he had that played guitar, and I was always just enamored with them guys, man. And they were just like, you know, Tennessee Flat Top Box and, you know, Worried Man, and just these super easy campfire songs, and I would just be like, play it again.
Yeah, that actually kind of took me back to, you know, it was even before that when we would go, we'd have, you know, bonfires out on County Road 7 and Burger Rock and stuff like that. And it was always, back to it's Andy Boyce again. It was, Andy was one playing the guitar all the time. Every now and then somebody else would come along and play a little bit, but that's kind of what, like you said, it kind of
it just stuck with me.
It got that, you know, it reminded me of those days back in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s when I was, you know, listening to Kiss records that they were my sisters and brothers, and you know, you jump in front of the mirror with a hairbrush and you're singing, you know, rock and roll all night and party every day.
Right. Well, we kind of have a kind of a musical connection. One of the first people that I ever heard play electric guitar was John Shutt at Brian's house, you know, their house. And I just remember thinking how good that dude was. And then you guys were really good friends back in the day, kind of a thing. But yeah, he was like the first person that ever played like a Metallica riff, and it was like, that straight sounds like Metallica, right? You know, like, yeah, that was just like, I didn't even know that was pot. I didn't know like anybody I knew could do that, you know? And then Frazier was another one. He would come to my house and grab my little, you know, J.C. Penney's, you know, harmony guitar and tune it up or whatever, and he'd play Iron Man or something, and I was just like, that sounds just like it, man. Yeah, all those little things add up, man.
Right.
Yeah.
That's you know, you're unlocking a lot of memories. The first time that happened to me, we were at it was at school, at the high school, and Bob Beaumont, John Drummond, and Brian Lorenz and Frank Weaver got up there on the auditorium stage, and they played Dirty Deeds.
Oh, yeah.
And they were practicing in, you know, they practiced down there. I think it was Frank's dad's place. And it's the carpet cleaner behind M2 now, or the old the new M2 Kovics.
Yeah.
That Frank Weaver Construction used to own that, and they were practicing there, and I remember going over there. But yeah, it was the same experience. It was like Brian's playing guitar, and I'm thinking, how do you know how to do that?
Yeah, but like, I didn't know you could do that.
Like he's playing AC/DC, like just like the record.
Or we would ride our bicycles, this is when we were real young, ride our bicycles down the tracks to where the Panther Path was, and White Line would be playing in there. And the only time you could hear it was when somebody would open the door, and it would just be blaring loud, and then it would be all muffled. But we would sit down there, and we would wait on our bicycles. And I remember it was either Jay or Donnie Mills came out and was like, It's probably Donnie because he recognized me because he's, related cousin or something, and he knows my mom and all my aunts. And I remember he looked at me and he's like, and I know you ain't allowed down here. You better get the hell out of here. And but it was just like, yeah, anything to do with music, man. I was like, what's it? Where's that coming from?
Right.
Or when like the Bernardo's grinder used to practice over by the post office, and my grandparents lived on 5th Street, man, and we would sit out on the front porch. Of course, it just sounded like a bunch of mumbled, a rumble of some kind, but always wanted to go over there. And my grandma was always like, "No, you ain't going over there."
Yeah, I remember that very well because I think that's where Chad lived. Chad McMullen lived over on Sycamore. And it was right up the street. It was right up the street. There.
It's crazy to think like at one time Ernie from White Line lived on Locust Street, and they practiced there. And then when Greer was a kid, he lived on Locust Street.
Yeah, Locust Street. That was.
And then Randy and his brother Roger lived down. It was like all in that one little area.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the trip. And they used to play. We do the same thing you were talking about when they played at the 21 Club up here, which is where Johanna's is now.
Oh, right.
And Grinder, used to play in there all the time on the weekends. We'd just sit there on that back stoop and listen to. You couldn't, like you said, it was just so loud. It was
just a kind of a sound, right? Yeah, I just remember being a kid and just being just like, I got to see what that is, man. And like everybody seemed so cool, and they all smoked cigarettes, had leather jackets, and I was like, motorcycles, like you'd see Harleys and stuff, and it was just like, and there I was on my Schwinn, Mom had no idea where a kid is,
But that was,
one of those like, well, I'm staying at his house, and then he tells his parents, well, I'm staying at his house, and then we just ran the streets all night.
Yeah.
Which don't do that if you're a young person watching this.
That's not good.
Yeah, you want to turn out like this?
Typical, like you said, Coshocton vibe.
Right. And I loved it, man. And it enough to remember all these, and I call them fond memories. Maybe it was delinquent behavior, but I never hurt anybody. I never broke anything.
Yeah, I just think it was part of growing up.
Right.
That time period as well, because you can't do that now. I mean,
Right.
If you see kids on their bicycles hanging out at the bar now, somebody's probably going to call the cops.
I never see kids on bicycles. It's like some 37-year-old meth head. That's all I ever see riding bicycles, man. like you go through every neighborhood in town, there'll be little kids playing in their yard, but no one's on bicycles but meth heads, man.
Maybe they need to come over and get some rehab.
They should. I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke around about stuff like that, but it's kind of true. It's like if you see somebody riding a mountain bike, it's like a 40-year-old guy that don't have a driver's license.
That's true.
That's kind of it's sad, but here I am making fun of them. Well, I never said I wasn't a jerk, John. I never said that.
Well, I don't think you're a jerk. But.
So with the Bigfoot stuff, I don't know how to ask. I'm super curious about what is it? Cryptid?
Yeah,
Cryptid things, which is like
unknown or undiscovered animals.
Okay. So Bigfoot,
Loch Ness Monster, Mothman. There's a lot of, like, one of the hottest things now is the Dog Man. So it's kind of like a werewolf. A lot of sightings of that.
Like Chupacabra, would that be in there?
Chupacabra is one of them. And Chupacabra is kind of a funny one because there's two versions of a Chupacabra. So there's the one that's Puerto Rican version, which was like a little green gremlin type thing. Chupacabra means goat sucker. And so like it was supposedly draining the blood.
I'm going to totally use that.
Yeah.
I'm calling somebody that.
Start calling people.
Some Chupacabra down at Taco Bell.
So it was like in the 90s when they started seeing this thing, and it would like drain the blood out of the goats, obviously, because that's where the name comes from, and then chickens too were coming up, like totally drained the blood, and they were said the Chupacabra was doing it, and like I said, it was a little green gremlin type thing. But then later on in the 2000s, there was I guess you'd call it the Texas version of the Chupacabra, and it's more like a canine looking thing.
That's the one that I've seen. It looked almost like a mange-ridden something. Yeah,
like a mange-ridden. And what I think the one there was one lady as a taxidermist. That's probably the one you've seen. She actually shot this thing and stuffed it, and she's got it like stuffed. And from what I understand, it was some kind of like a Mexican wolf, like a very rare species,
Right.
but it did have mange and
Right.
but so that's where that legend kind of comes from.
Right.
When you boil it down, it's it's like you can take it as you want it. Is that some kind of weird species that they're looking for?
Right. So when it comes to cryptid things like that, do people usually rebut with like, well, maybe it's maybe it's an animal that we don't know about, or what? I guess like because like we were talking earlier, I've kind of heard some argument from both sides of like, say, just like the Bigfoot thing. You have people that say, oh, well, they never find any remains, and then the people will say, oh, it's because they're like elephants and they have specific places. Those are just things that I'm making up. I don't know if that's true, but I guess, how do people try to dispel most of them? Do they just say like, oh, it wasn't, you just seen something, thought it was something else, or it's actually this kind of an animal, like you said with the wolf that they didn't know about? Yeah.
Right. So we'll just use Bigfoot as an example. So like the number one, when people are trying to, rebuke it or debunk it or whatever.
Right.
So one of the famous thing is, and it has been, there's like bear sightings, and there's a big crossover between like high, we'll call it high traffic areas where Bigfoot's seen a lot, and where bears live.
Right.
Like, people tend to see them, and a lot of times people, the people will say, well, you probably saw a bear that was walking on his hind legs, because they can be gigantic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, I remember seeing one at a Kodiak bear at the Atlanta Zoo one time, and I thought, that thing was walking around in North America? What? That's crazy.
Right. Me and the wife were in Tennessee, and we took this like little mountain trail, and there was a mama wolf, mama bear that came down and two little cubs, and Wendy was like, get a picture. So I jump out of the car and I run around, and it's like from me to you, and it probably was a 300 or 400 pound bear, but it looked like a 900 pound bear when you're surprised by it. So I could understand why somebody would see a bear and that's 6 foot tall and be like, oh my God, it was 11 feet tall. You know what I mean? Because it would scare the crap out of it. You know?
Funny story, because we were in Gatlinburg, this was 3 years ago, for the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference. So we're standing, if you're familiar with Gatlinburg, we're standing outside the conference center, which is on one of the big hills. And right beside the conference center, there's a church, and there's a parking lot there, and a row of pine trees. So I'm sitting there talking to my wife. I'm about from here to you, and this bear comes walking out behind her out of that church parking lot, and this was a huge, gigantic, I mean, it was enormous. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it was taller than this table. I'm going, buh, 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 and my wife's thinking it was somebody famous behind her. So she turns around, and she's going, buh, 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 buh. We couldn't get a picture because I had, I got a phone right here.
Right.
It's in my pocket. She's got a phone in her pocket. We never got it. He walked across the street over to that little trading post over there, sniffed around, then went around the back. And I thought he was going to go up to the pancake houses right there too. I thought he was going to go. All those people are sitting there in the rocking chairs on the porch, like you're about to get a surprise.
That would have been awesome.
But I found out that bear did have a name when we went down there last year, and they had to euthanize him because he was getting so. I mean, he was just going. I just saw one the other day too. Was like walking down on the main drag.
Wow.
Walking around because they lose their fear of people.
Yeah. Well,
but they are, they're huge.
Right. When it comes to bears, like if there is reincarnation, that's what I want to be, a grizzly bear, man. If that's a thing, like if whoever's listening, I would really like to come back as a grizzly bear, because I'm kind of working on it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm laying the groundwork. So I figured by the time reincarnation kicks in,
I'll be ready to go.
I'll be good with it. Yeah.
You'll be ready for hibernation.
Right. But I'm also the kind of person where, like, I root for the bear, man. When, like, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I'm not sadistic or nothing like that. But if you poke the bear, I root for the bear. I'm sorry. Like, the people that do asinine things, like try to feed them marshmallows and then wonder why they got their face scratched off. It's like, well, they are wild.
Yeah. That's how I found out the bear got euthanized. was we went to the same hotel, which is right across the street, and this young lady, she's really a girl. I mean, she's like 19, and she's explaining to me. She's showing me. She gives me this piece of paper that I have to sign. It's got like 10 rules on it of how not to mess with bears. Yeah. And I'm sitting there looking at her funny. I'm like, why are you explaining this to me? I'm 50 some years old. I know not to pet bears. She's like, we've had like 10 attacks this year because people are walking up to them and giving them cheeseburgers and, petting them and taking selfies with them, like right here. And I'm like,
I root for the bear.
I'm like you. I root for the bear. If you're that dumb,
maybe your mauling will teach someone something. Maybe someone will see you get mauled and be like, we're going down there next week, honey. Maybe we better be careful. You know what I mean? This shit really happens to people.
Like I said, it was just, I was stunned that she had to explain these rules to. I'm like, do you really have to tell people this stuff? She's like, it's our policy now. Yeah. And I'm like, that's a good policy because people are so stupid.
They are. They really are.
That you have to explain that to them.
When you have to put, like, do not open on the inside of an airplane door, right. That's pretty bad.
My favorite's up at Dillon Lake in Zanesville. Is that Dillon, I think?
Yeah, it is. Dillon Dam up around there. Yeah.
So there's if you go down the road through the boat ramp, and I see them everywhere now, there's a sign that says road ends in water, like halfway up the hill. And it's like, I say take that sign out.
Yeah,
let nature, Darwin, let's do it.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. If you don't know that the boat ramp ends in water.
How great would it be just take all the warning labels off of shit? Somebody come to work Monday morning with hey Bob, how'd that cabinet building go? Like, not good, man, not good.
I didn't know you were supposed to hold the saw by the handle. I grabbed it by the blade.
Yeah, you can't stop them with your fingers. You got to wait for them to stop.
Yeah, they just keep rolling.
I don't get that. I'm like not completely safety conscious, but I know, like, when you see reels on YouTube of people just doing the most asinine things, and it's just like, I root for the bear. You know what I mean? I root for the bear.
I like that. That's a good saying. You should make bumper stickers.
I should. That's copyrighted by Higley and
Copyright. There you go. Yeah. So I mean, that's bears are like the number one. What people
like mistaken identity.
The mistaken identity thing. So people will see a bear walking upright or something, and obviously the counter argument to that is Bigfoots don't really look. Bigfoots have big, wide shoulders, usually like a very conical head down to some really wide shoulders, and their gait. I mean, just about everybody on the planet has seen the Patterson-Gimlin film,
right?
And you know what that gait looks like. I mean, it's a completely different. The way they move their, I'm not an anatomist or,
right.
But I do know a lot, obviously, from listening to the talks and reading books, how, that Patterson-Gimlin film is obviously the best piece of footage that anybody's ever had. And it kind of, it shows how they walk, it shows how it moves. Completely different than walk from a human being. Obviously, not a bear.
The physiology is different.
Yes,
the hips and the pelvis and things like that make a difference in the gait.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then where everything is, like arm length and leg length compared to a human, is completely off. So that that's one of the things. Other stuff you see a lot of. You'll see pictures. Now with AI, it's getting you won't be able to trust a picture anymore.
I love those little AI videos of like Bigfoot when he finds the Zins or he those are amazing.
Yeah, him and Batman was one of my favorite ones. They were tripping on acid, I think, and it was so funny. I was crying.
Yeah, I seen the one where he was like, "Oh man, I found this bag of white powder. We're gonna see what this does." And then it just shows Bigfoot hauling ass through the woods, eyes all peeked out. Yeah,
I saw that one. And it's funny because when anything new Bigfoot comes out, I love all my friends because everybody sends me all the Bigfoot stuff, and I love it, man. I just eat it. I'm just like, that's how people think. You know, they see Bigfoot, they think of me, and I'm just like, that's awesome.
I was at Rock Coshocton a couple of years ago, and there was a food trailer that is a Bigfoot themed food trailer. And I went up there, and I was getting food, and Zach Greer was there, and Zachary looked at me, and he's like, "Man, I almost expect to see Turley over here." Like,
shout out to Zach, man.
Yeah, Zach. Yeah, Greer Transportation.
Yeah. I talked to him not long ago. He's doing real well.
Yeah,
That's
it makes
awesome.
me feel even like super old. Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Well, we are kind of old, I guess, in the scheme of things, I guess. I'm really old on the inside, you know, where it counts.
Exactly.
Right.
You can grow old, but you don't have to grow up. That's the good part.
So with the cryptid stuff, I know people go out and they look for Bigfoot. Like they go out in the woods and they actually like knock on trees and look for a Bigfoot. With the other ones, is it similar like with the Mothman or? Because I guess from what I don't know much about it, but wasn't there like there was sightings of the Mothman, like, and then bad things would happen.
Yeah, that's kind of like Mothman's. So the main story centers around Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Right.
That's where most of my family lives, in Mason County down there. So, the Mothman was sighted, like in the first time it was sighted, was supposedly by some grave diggers that were up. Actually, they were up a little closer to like the middle of West Virginia, like before the ones started in Point Pleasant. then the sightings started late '66 of out there in what's known as the TNT area. So back in the 40s, the U.S. government, specifically the Army, built this TNT factory. That's where they manufactured dynamite and gunpowder and stuff for the war.
Right.
And they built these concrete bunkers, and the bunkers are still there. And they're they're graffitified, and so that's kind of Mothman's hangout. So like people that go look for Mothman typically go down to Point Pleasant and go out to the bunkers and just kind of wander around out there and look to see if he's still lurking. Then there was several sightings leading up to when the Silver Bridge collapsed into the Ohio River in December of 1967. And then after that, everything kind of calmed down.
Right.
But there was all kinds of weird stuff. Like, I didn't know this, like, even after the Men in Black movie came out, but the Men in Black really got their fame kind of from Mothman, because they were down there in Point Pleasant. Like, they were going around, they were harassing, like, the newspaper reporter. That there was one lady, she was a newspaper reporter. She was like following up this story with John Keel. If you saw the Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere, that's the character he was playing. But they were like investigating this Mothman thing. They had these Men in Black guys show up, driving black cars, black sunglasses, black suits, like the whole 9 yards, you know, just think Tommy Lee Jones. And,
right.
You know.
Would that be the J. Edgar Hoover kind of era? Yeah.
So
weird stuff happened.
There was a lot of weird stuff happening, and there was UFO sightings.
Right.
There was all kinds of strange things. That's why it's really cool to read John Keel's book. It talks about all this weird stuff going on.
And the government had agencies like investigating the occult and all different kind of witchcraft.
Project Blue Book was going on at that time.
Yeah.
And so those.
It's crazy to think that. I mean, I guess it's not crazy, but with what we know now, kind of looking back, it's like, and they were so covert. Our grandparents probably had no idea.
No,
you know what I mean? They would, and if you would have said that, if some reporter would have come out and said, "Oh, well, they would have been like, oh, whatever, you're a kook," or you know.
This is my recollection. And if there's anybody, I'm sure there's people that might say this, but they seem to. Our grandparents, my grandparents anyways, would each individual politician, which is kind of the same way now, we knew they were all lying. Right? They knew they were all liars. Because those jokes are as old as as old as politicians are. Like, you know, how do you know a politician's lying? His mouth's moving.
Right.
But they seem to trust the government as a whole, you know,
Right.
because they were that generation that went through the Great Depression and World War II, and it was the government that pulled them all out of that, you know.
Right.
They really,
so they had a reason to trust
they
them,
had a
right?
reason to trust them, and so like there was a big, you know, people trusted government. They didn't trust politicians.
Yeah.
But then, you know, as the '60s wore on, especially that time with Mothman '67 in that era, Vietnam was going on and the counterculture and all that. So there was a lot of, you know,
Right.
and then that led right into our '70s and Watergate and all that stuff. So everybody was like, "Nope, don't trust nobody now."
Yeah,
Like, y'all,
yeah.
you've been covering up everything forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, you know, we live in the age of, you know, social media. So
Instantaneous.
instantaneous, and everything is a conspiracy. And
Yeah. Oh,
everything,
yeah.
which actually kind of, you know, as far as decrypted things go, it's great because it gets more stories out there, and it lets people link up, but it also leads to more, you know.
Does it kind of pollute it sometime with
It
a bunch of
does.
horse shit and people and I go into every podcast, man, with an open mind. Like with Bobby, you know, we've talked about death metal, and you know, we joke around about the names and stuff like that. But I was generally interested. I had Anthony and Brad on here.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and you know, and hopefully we get more of them guys, because it's always a great conversation. But I think it would sometimes. I don't want to come at it like I'm a skeptic, but I don't. Like, I wouldn't pollute it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't go to a conference just so I could sit around and go, that guy's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I would just, if I would go, and I would be the guy that would be convinced by the end of it. It's like, I want to go out to the woods right now.
Well, and honestly, you know, if people that are interested in, they should go to conferences. They should
Right.
go and listen to, because if you go and listen to, there's boots on the ground researchers that are in Coshocton, that are around Coshocton. Coshocton is a hotbed of Bigfoot activity.
Huh.
So, I mean, it's called the Sasquatch Triangle: Coshocton, Guernsey, and just a little bit of Tuscarawas County.
Okay.
So, Don Keating coined that phrase. Shout out to Don Keating if he's watching tonight. But Don is the kind of the guru of Bigfooting in Ohio, and he started the first conference, and so he's been doing this for like 40 plus years. But you know, there's a lot of activity around here, and there's people that actually go out, and they are out there. They're out there pounding the ground. I mean, they go out and they're out there till 2, 3, and 4 in the morning, and the stuff that they, you know, I've listened to their record. You know, they get
Right.
audio recordings. You don't get a lot of visual because nobody's got high grade military night vision stuff.
Right.
You can't catch a lot of things on it. The one I have is one of those ones with the one eyeball that if you
yeah.
look at, you can see like down there 100 yards, but when you take it away, you lose all your night vision.
Right.
You can't see anything for like 15 minutes because you
Right.
got this green
Glow.
glow in
Yeah.
your eyeball. But I mean, I've heard some like stuff that makes your hair curl, and it's
Right.
not, you know, it's not a deer, it's not a sick cow,
Or a
it's
owl or
it's
something.
not an
Yeah.
owl. Now you know, you like, we have a lot of bobcats around here.
Right.
Bobcats make this ungodly wail. It sounds like a woman being tortured,
I've
and
never
it is
heard one.
horrifying when you hear that kind of stuff. You get the coyotes howling, which is kind of neat until they basically have you surrounded on all sides, and then you're like, this wasn't a really good idea to
Yeah,
get all these coyotes riled up.
Another question, because my wife knew some people that would go out and knock and stuff like that, and she's like, "Would you want to go with them?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, they don't allow firearms," and I was like, "Well, then I ain't going." With that said, I would not shoot Bigfoot. I wouldn't shoot a Bigfoot unless he was trying to come at me or something. I'm not silly. I'm going to defend myself. I wouldn't like hunt Bigfoot. I wouldn't take an AR, but I don't go out and I don't go mushroom hunting unless I'm armed.
I don't know.
And it's not necessarily for cryptids. It's more for crackheads. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That kind of, the human element is what or a bear or a coyote or something like that, a wild dog. Been out fishing a Wills Creek before, and had really nasty like Rottweiler German Shepherd mixes in the
Yeah.
middle of the woods. You know what I mean? So,
I don't know. All the researchers I know that go out in Ohio all carry weapons.
I was gonna, yeah. I mean,
Like I feel like when I go out with them, like these guys are all loading up. I'm standing over here. I've got like my Bowie knife.
you got a flashlight.
I'm like, I ain't got no gun.
I got a flashlight and a Twinkie. I'm gonna make friends with them, man.
Yeah, I'll throw my beef jerky at them.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But yeah,
Don't tear
most
my
of them
arms
do.
off.
And for that I mean, like you said, you don't know if you're gonna
What
if
you're gonna find.
You know,
right.
you might come up on something that just is not being friendly to you.
Right.
And you need to have something at least to hopefully shoo them away or whatever.
Right. At least scare them into not eating you.
Yeah. Most of the time, every one of those guys, like if I have to shoot, I'm going to shoot up in the air first.
Right. Because it'll run away.
It'll run away most of the time. So that's most of the Bigfooters I know are always going to carry a gun with them just in case. You want to make sure.
Have you done like the other cryptids? Like, have you went to Point Pleasant at night and did that? And
I have not gone there at night. We've gone down there in the daytime and looked around. We haven't even gone all the way back. I'm kind of leery about leaving my vehicle because you got to leave your car.
it's not a great part of town.
And walk back. Well, it's out in the woods,
okay.
and there's always a lot of people there. But if I had a few more people, usually it's like me and my wife. If I had a few more people with me, I would definitely. And I've been wanting to go back in there and do that. But for the most part, I mean, as far as anything I've been doing, I've gone out looking for Bigfoot, and we usually go in the daytime.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like I got a buddy, we'll go out at night. We stay out late and drink coffee and eat donuts.
Right.
And,
so you're cops.
Yeah, we're like cops on third shift.
Yeah, you're like deputies at that point.
Yeah, it's
right?
like drink some coffee, eat some donuts, checking out night vision.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a lot of fun. I mean, and plus, you get out there in the woods, you get to see stuff you don't normally.
Right. It never hurts anybody to get outside and get some trees around them, man. That's just good for you. That's the freshest air you can get. You know.
We were out County Road 7 one time, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were talking about another friend of ours had an encounter, Bigfoot and a fox, like walking kind of close to one another. Like the fox came out and the Bigfoot came behind it.
Wow.
What's going on there? So we're talking about this story, and we're walking down out there in County Road 7 where we used to go party at, where it's all closed off now with those big cement.
Yeah.
That runs.
Haul roads.
It goes back down to 83.
Right.
And we're talking about that story, and this big red fox jumps out on the road and runs across because there's no traffic. There's no cars down there anymore, and it's all growed over.
Right.
And but it was pretty. I'm like, there used to be a lake over there, and it's all gone. Like it was some of our old stomping grounds. It was totally.
Right.
It looked totally alien.
Well, we every once in a while, Wendy and I will get bored and we'll go for a cruise out through Wills Creek or something, and it's just like where'd it go, man?
Yeah.
It's all gone. They sold it. They once AEP went out and that coal lands where it was all public hunting and stuff, it's all broken into tracks and getting sold off. And I mean, that's progress. That's the way of the world, I guess. But it's just like sounds like a John Prine song, like they're busting up my childhood and selling it off an acre at a time.
That's the truth too. Like it don't look the same. And
no, and it just like it reminds you like if you went to like a summer camp every year when you were a kid and you have all these vivid memories, and then you would go there now and it's a shithole. That's kind of what.
Yeah.
Not that Wills Creek's a shithole. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. Like my childhood made it seem so much better. Now when you go out there, it's just like, oh, that's where this used to be.
Yeah.
Oh, and I remember if you went that way, this pond was back there.
There was a pond back
and then all that's like used to be's and was, and and past tense.
Now, and part of that is, and I think, the water was cleaner back then.
Right.
There's a lot of runoff now, and,
right.
A lot of those ponds and lakes where we used to fish and swim are all like
gone.
They're
Just
gone,
swamps.
dried up. There's
Yeah.
swamps now, or they're growed over with algae.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, just the the actual topography has changed. You know, like you used to have landmarks. Like, well, if you went out a certain way, you'll come to. There's 2 ponds, and then there's a pond on the. Don't go to the pond.
Don't go to that one.
Turn around. You went too far. Yeah.
I miss those old directions.
I
like
do
that.
too. I do too. Now it's just like, you know, in 300 feet, like, oh, I don't have a tape measure, lady. What the hell? Just tell, at the light.
I guarantee you, I'm going to miss that. 300 feet seems a lot farther to me when I'm
Right.
driving than what it really is.
Or I love the head northeast.
Yeah.
It's like, what, I look like Magellan? I don't have a compass, man.
Listen,
like
Lewis
I'm
and
shooting
Clark,
an
I don't know
azimuth somewhere. Like, where do I, yeah. Like, just tell me, at the light, go left.
Yeah, let me get my compass out.
You're looking for a Domino's on this side.
Oh, some of them do, though. Now they'll be like, go through this light.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, hey, these things are getting smarter,
Right.
you know. Pretty soon it'll be like, go up to that red Ford and take a right.
Yeah, you'll see a guy out there, he's wanting change. Don't give him any money.
Don't give me money. Drive fast.
He's just going to drink it. You know?
Take a right there.
So you also have an online store, and you have a store, or you have things on consignment in a store in Cambridge, you said?
Yeah, there's one. We have a consignment store in Cambridge, which is Country Bits. It's on Wheeling Avenue. It's down there by Theo's Restaurant, which I highly recommend if you're going to go to Cambridge during the day. Especially now, they're going to put up. You know, they put up those puppets every year at winter. At Christmas
the
time.
Christmas stuff. Yeah.
So go down there and get freaked out by those creepy puppets.
They are creepy. Yeah.
They are.
It's like Rob Zombie and Charles Dickens
Yeah.
came together again.
Exactly. Like,
Which might be cool.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It really is. Like, they put them out, and so you go down there at Christmas time. You go to Country Bits. You get some Squatchy merch from us, and then go to Theo's and have their chili. It is incredible.
Yeah. So if people were interested in finding out like where they have conferences and where they have meetings, or if there's like, are there like local chapters of people you can reach out to if you're interested? And because I have a friend, shout out to Ricky Wheeler, my drummer. He's big Bigfoot guy, man. Like, and he's one of those kind of guys where he laughs, jokes around, but then when it comes to Bigfoot, he'll just look you right in the eye and be like, "You can think I'm crazy all you want, but I know." He's a believer, man. There's no doubt in his eyes when he tells you. So, you know, and it's not just like we were talking about how people can kind of pollute it. It's not just the people that like, yeah, I believe in Bigfoot. There's got to be something out there. There's people that are like, no, like I'm telling you, like there's you. Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Like I've talked to people that, you know, you can tell, like it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, you know, alcoholics and addicts. When people are trying to pull something over on you, you kind of get an idea about that.
Yeah.
But when you talk to people who have ran into stuff in the woods and they're dead serious, and like you feel sorry for them because it's like it has traumatized them. This
like
whatever has happened to them, you know.
Like you can't tell them, I believe you enough, you know, kind
right.
of a thing.
I mean, you don't even have to say that to them because they're so earnest in what they're telling you.
Right.
Like there's no doubt in your mind. Like their stories raise the hair on my arms.
Right.
Like when they're telling it, I'm like sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, this
so
is freaking me out."
If Bobby was like, if we were talking out in the lobby area, I say lobby area, like we have a giant studio here. We have a green
huge
room.
studio.
Yeah.
It's gigantic.
Shout out to Nikki at Studio 117 while we're doing this. But how would you like say if Bobby come to you and be like, "Hey man, one time when I was in Boy Scouts," how would you know if it was horseshit or not? Like what would be something that's pretty common that people say that's a red flag for you? Like how would you what would your bullshit pick up?
One of the is just disorganized information. Like, you know, if you tell me, typically when people have a story like that, there's a very strict, straight timeline on what has happened.
Right.
You know, what was going on. You know, I remember that night because it was storming like crazy. Like, or it was really cold.
Right.
I was just talking about this last night with somebody. Like I had three different people tell me about Bigfoot sightings when they were taking the garbage out. Like, and it's just like, man, I hated taking the freaking garbage out. And then my dad's like, you got to take the garbage out. And then after that, I was freaked out. And my dad's like, no, you still got to. I'm like, Dad, there's a freaking Bigfoot out there. You know, these people they're telling you part of their childhood.
Right,
and
right.
They've always got a, shouldn't say they always do, because there's always going to be, there's going to be flim flam people that are going to be, well, listen, John, let me tell you about this.
Right.
Once they break into that voice, you got to be careful. They're after
I don't want to buy your insurance.
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, I know you're trying to reach me about my car.
Right. Hey, man.
Listen.
Yeah.
Talking about Bigfoot is not the way to do it.
Right.
But
you know who likes a good deal? Bigfoot likes a good deal.
Bigfoot likes a good deal. He does.
Yeah. So there's certain things. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I have ADD, man.
No, that's all right. But there's just certain things, like I said, disorganized information, or people that'll bounce around on their story, and it just more so than your regular ADHD, where but those kind of things. When you have a traumatic experience, you can pretty much narrow in on it. When you're talking about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like like when I was a kid, man, I almost drowned once. Yeah, I could tell you like the shape of the cloud above me, kind of a thing, right?
Like when you have that, like I said, that's it was raining and storming, and I walked outside, and there's this big freaking stinky hairy thing standing there, and I never wanted to take the garbage out again, stuff like that. So it kind of lends itself to people being honest with you, and like I said, most of the time, another kind of a red flag is a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Like sometimes you got to kind of goad it out of them.
Right.
You can tell me your story.
Well, you don't, because you know how crazy it's going to sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like rational person, like we always used to joke around and say things silently to yourself before you say them out loud.
Yeah.
And if it sounds a certain way to yourself, it probably is going to sound that way out loud. So you realize how crazy you're going to sound to somebody. So I could understand being apprehensive and be like, but that's when they can seek out like-minded people that, like you said earlier, that aren't going to judge you and aren't going to be like, bullshit. You know what I mean? Like it was a dog. You're nuts. You know what I mean?
So, and that's one of my favorite things about when we're out vending. Like we travel all over the Midwest. We go Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania. We're in there a lot. That I'll have people, like we were just up in Chardon last weekend. And you have people that come out and they'll be like, this is kind of their introduction, is like, have you ever seen one? And I'll be like, yeah, I did. I had an encounter when I was a kid. And they're like, oh, can you tell me about it? I'm like, sure. And I'll tell them my story. And then they'll kind of be like, I saw one too. I saw one, in 1985, biggest thing I ever seen in my life. And they'll tell me the story, and they kind of, they kind of feel me, you see, they feel me out first, like, are you
right? Are you gonna make fun of me? Or
yeah. One of my favorite, we used to set up over at the flea market in the fairgrounds when we used to have that in the summertime. Still upset about that. I won't go into that about that fair board. Thank you very little. But people would come up, especially during the hot air balloon festival. Like that was our weekend. We were having the flea market.
Right.
I was set up in that corner, and people would come up and be like, "Have you ever seen one?" Like, yeah, and they would quietly. I saw one. People think I'm crazy.
So with that, have you ever had somebody that was just kind of a dick about it? It's like, come on, man, you're like, how do you deal with that though? I mean, I know you're a good dude, man. You're gonna take the high road. I mean, you've always been a good guy. You're not gonna, well, let's go outside kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, nobody runs Bigfoot down. I know you're not like that, but how do you deal with it? Because you gotta have that. You gotta have the assholes that are just, like I say, that want to go just to be against the grain kind of thing.
One of the, I don't remember a lot of people doing that, because it seems like they've kind of just given up, or whatever.
Right.
There's still people that come to some conferences. I've heard, anyways. I haven't been in attendance when that has happened, but I don't get to hear the speakers a lot either, because we're usually outside,
right,
or wherever the vendors are. But sometimes there's people that are, doubting Thomases, or just, like you said, mostly like those people that are really. And I don't understand what motivates those people.
I don't either.
I had a guy, I'll never forget this guy. I don't remember what he looks like, because, you put that out of your mind. But I was in Baker's, before they went out down in the plaza, and I had Bigfoot shirt on. This guy walked up to me and he goes, "Oh, you believe in Bigfoot, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I don't believe in it. I think it's all bull crap." And I'm like, "Okay." And he walked away, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there holding my, my pound of hamburger and taco mix, and I'm like,
too much hate in his body. He had to let it out.
Yeah, he just had to let it out. I guess that shirt just triggered him enough, and that's kind of the way I looked at it. I was like, well, maybe he won't go be an asshole to somebody else now. He's got it out of his system, and but it was just so strange. Like,
it would be different if you were wearing a tap out shirt and he's like, "Well, let's wrestle."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. But
it's Bigfoot, man, come on, lighten up, dude. But yeah, like I said, he must have that too much hate in his body, and he just had to be a dick.
I mean, I would understand it if it was, one of our band, one of your favorite bands or something. That somebody's like, "I freaking hate Nickelback." Oh my God, how can you wear that shirt?
The revolution wasn't anything after Prince left. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, you don't have to deal with that a lot. More often than not, it's people that want to tell you a story.
That's awesome.
That have been ridiculed if they've tried to tell it to anybody else.
Right.
So, and it's really cool to hear. And some of the stories you hear, you're amazed. You're like how did that go on?
And you said, like, why would you waste your hate on that kind of thing? Well, it's like, I guess, like, okay, say there is a Bigfoot, or say there isn't a Bigfoot. Does it really matter? Like, is it going to, like, uproot your life? Or, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, my taxes are going up. They found out there really is a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? Like, what? Right. I don't understand why people necessarily, like, the guy that was like, "Oh, I don't believe it." It's like, well, that's fine, man. I don't believe in a lot of things that that aren't tangible, that I can't touch and see and experience, but that don't make them not true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, it doesn't mean that you just, I suppose, like I said, I don't know, what, I always look at it this way. And it's something I learned in recovery was, man, you really got something going on in your life that you're directing your hate towards something that people really enjoy and have a lot of fun with.
Right.
And that's your response is, I can't, that's a bunch of bull crap. Like, dude, what,
wow.
What else?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt? Yeah, it's really is one of those cases. Like,
come here, you need a hug?
You need a hug?
Get the hell away from me.
I'll give you a Bigfoot hug.
Come here. Bigfoot would hug you. As they're cussing you out.
Chasing him out the store.
Bigfoot loves you.
Got a question from...
We got a question.
What?
Is there very many locals involved in groups? From Twisted Image Cycles. Is there a lot of Bigfoot groups in Coshocton? You said it's like a hot spot, like the Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
That means there probably is a lot of research people.
There's a group called Coshocton County Bigfoot.
Okay.
Those guys go out all the time. They get some pretty interesting pictures. Like I said, they'll take people out. They'll take them out all the time. You can find them on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And I, reach out to those guys to do that. I also mentioned there's a group called SOSPI. It's Southeast Ohio. And I don't remember the rest. I'm sorry, Doug. My friend Doug Waller kind of runs that. And I don't remember what all the letters stand for. But they have a camp out at the primitive campground at Salt Fork. All during the like the summer months, like starting in April. Like they'll be out there almost every other weekend. They rent that primitive campground out. So if you're not familiar, if you go past the entrance to Salt Fork on 22, you go down a little, about another, I want to say it's about a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles, and you take a left. And that takes you to the primitive campground.
Okay.
And it actually takes you around. If you ever go through Salt Fork and you see all those like little roads that go off up the hills, like, and it says like 51 and 52 and 53, right. Those all go to the backside of Salt Fork. So everybody's so familiar with the Salt Fork that we're, the lakes over here. Right. You got to get on that backside and see what that's like. It is like a totally different world back there.
Huh.
And so they do a lot of research back in there too.
I always heard that was like a hot spot.
It
down
is.
around
It
there,
is.
yeah.
There's and recently, like, so there's Bigfoot sightings back there. Supposedly there's a witch, white witch that roams, or a witch in a white dress that roams around back there, which is a cool story. And
Right.
I've never seen her, but
Right.
that doesn't mean.
I've seen some witches, but they were never out there.
Yeah. Back at Bandos.
Right, Cat Blues, the Red Brick.
Yeah. There was a few. So yeah, that whole backside's really cool. But yeah, there's groups that go out in Coshocton. There's some people, local researchers that, and if you're interested, you know, you can always hit me up on Crowtown Squatchers store on Facebook. That's our store site.
Cool.
But we have we put stuff on there like our schedule. Like if you're interested, there's a thing in Carrollton on Saturday.
I was just gonna say, if there's anything you wanted to plug, man, go ahead and plug it.
This Saturday, 10 to 6 at St. John's Villa in Carrollton. They're having a Bigfoot thing. They're gonna have a Bigfoot calling contest. They're gonna have stuff for kids. There's gonna be some speakers up there, a couple of speakers, authors, and obviously vendors and food trucks and things like that. So it's going to be a real fun time. It's the first time they're doing it. They're trying to get something started,
Right.
and I really want to help them out because I really want this thing to thrive. I think Carrollton's a good spot for it. It's, you know, up there. It's,
And again, man, even if whether there is or isn't one, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with the camaraderie and the family aspect of it? Take your kids down, man, and learn something, to get some food, learn something new, man.
yeah. And get us, when we went through COVID, I did a few things at work where I had my friends that are researchers come in, and that was the main thing. It was like, get the kids out, get them out away from their electronics.
Right.
Take them out in the woods, take them hiking, go up to Mohican and hike those trails up there. Go to Salt Fork and hike those trails up there.
You might find one. What
You
if you're
might
the first,
find-
what if you're the first person to ever find one?
You might find one. You might, you know, I have found, my wife and we found 2 footprints up at Salt Fork. Just walking, just hiking on
Do you do
Morgan's
the
Trail.
casting thing? Have you ever done
I
that?
never had the casting material with me. I've got some now, but of course, once I put it in my van, I haven't found one.
I bought a tow strap. Me and Wendy were out mushroom hunting. These people were stuck. This is how redneck I am. I took a dog leash and a ratchet strap and pulled this guy out of a ditch. And we got in town, and I bought a tow strap, and I've loaned it to my buddies like 3 or 4 times, and I've never used it. So I completely,
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like now, hopefully I'll have it with me the next time. But yeah, you may find something that you'll just be like amazed. Like it may not even be Bigfoot related. You might find something that you're like, man, I didn't even know this.
Oh, you might be out there.
You
You might be out there with your family and find out you really do like them.
right?
You know what I mean?
You might do that.
Right. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with, like I said, I don't understand the negativity. Like if it ain't your thing, that's fine. You know, like.
But it leads to so much more. Like you said, like camping, camping safety and camping. You know how to camp safely and be prepared for weather. Like right now is a perfect example of, like, if you go camping right now, you would definitely want to know how to build a fire. You want to have some redundancy on building fires, like a lighter.
Right.
And you'd want to have like lots of heavy clothing.
A little self-reliance. Never hurt anybody.
It gets a little cold at night.
Right.
So, during the fall. So, you know, there's lots of stuff you can learn about that.
Right.
And take the kids out there and get them, like I say, number one reason for all, and I'll do a little mental health plug here. Number one reason for the anxiety that everybody seems to have these days lies right here.
Right. We're all guilty of addiction to that thing, man.
But and it's worse on the kids because it takes away from their socialization skills, takes away from, you know, getting like we used to do when we were kids. Like, hey, you have to spend time with your partner.
Like, I'm going to ride over to Shetty's house. Well, he ain't home. Go ride over to Robbie's house. Well, he ain't home. We'll ride over to the fairground, see where everybody's at.
You literally go from 7th Street all the way up to Wilson Avenue to try to find somebody that was home to hang out with.
And then sometimes you had to hang out with that scrub kid that you really didn't want to hang out with.
He's the only one that was
But
home.
he's the only one that wasn't doing anything. then you find out he's all right too. You
Yeah.
know? So you add him into the pack, right? Well, John, thanks for coming in, man. I really appreciate it. Is there at your store you have all different kinds of stuff?
All kinds of stuff. Shirts, hoodies, toys, stuffed animals, little figurines.
Right. Legos? Didn't you have Legos?
Yeah, we make our own little Lego kits, like with Bigfoot or other cryptids.
Right.
And so we sell a lot of those things, and I just make those up myself.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun doing that. But
very cool.
The website's crowtownsquatchers.com. Like I said, go on Facebook and follow us at Crowtown Squatcher Store. And that's where you're going to find out, like I said, we put a lot of info on there, upcoming stuff.
Oh, okay.
This weekend in Carrollton, we'll be up there. Next weekend is Salina, Ohio, out by Indiana. We're going to be there. And then a couple weeks, we'll be down in Marietta for the Marietta Monster Mash.
Oh, nice.
And that's going to be out. The Powers of Pain are going to be there. The wrestlers. They were having a whole bunch of people from wrestling world down there. It's
that's
like
cool.
Almost like a little wrestling con almost. Huh. So there's just a lot of cool stuff.
Very
that
cool.
We get into, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome, Bobby. Anything you want to plug, man? No gigs lined up.
No.
Well, Bourbon Legends will be at Johanna's Bistro Friday, October 31st, from 6 to 9.
Sweet.
If you like acoustic grunge style music.
Who doesn't?
I love it. I mean,
can we get some Yellow Ledbetter going?
Yeah, I don't know. I learned the lyrics to it. Did you know what that song is about? It's about when someone is in the military.
I was going to say, yeah.
And they're killed in action or they're whatever. They send a letter home to the parents, and it was about a guy that didn't want to leave the letter. It was a yellow letter. And that's why he says, you know, something about being on the front porch, and I saw her on the sand, and it's like every time he would go to deliver this letter, he couldn't bring himself to deliver this letter. And you get none of that when you listen to that song. You have to Google what are the lyrics to Yellow Ledbetter.
I remember looking the lyrics up the one time, and I remembered all that.
It was just crazy. I was just thinking, that is totally not. I don't know what I thought it was about, but that's not what I thought it was about.
I mean, on the front porch and they don't wave is like the only part that you
right.
Can really
I thought maybe
understand.
they didn't like you because you had long hair and you were a grunge guy and they were dicks. I don't know. You know what I mean? You didn't really leave it much open to interpretation. I love Pearl Jam, and Eddie, if you're watching and you want to be on the podcast, I would love it.
Oh my God, yeah, Eddie,
You know,
come on.
I mean,
come on
I know he's a Cubs fan. I'm a Cubs fan.
That would be awesome.
But his style, it's kind of like death metal. You know, like if I was going to listen to a Six Deep song, it would, and no disrespect to them guys, it would, for me, that's not my realm. If I had the lyric sheet in front of me, I would understand everything he said. Anthony's band is the same way. It's just my ears trained for grunge era stuff, and you know that whole. It's like I have to train my brain to be able to understand it, which is probably just because my brain's not all that great anymore. So I have to kind of.
It's a little war.
Yeah, I have to do it slowly and in increments that burn me out. You know.
Well, I mean, it just reminds me, listening to, you know, Slayer back in the day, you had to, I mean, if you didn't have the lyric sheet out, you're just like, I have no idea what this guy's saying.
And we were talking about that one on one of the podcasts too. That was the most evil, heaviest shit I ever heard. And then now it's like, that's almost like hearing doo-wop or something compared to
Isn't it funny? Because I thought to say, you know, I sit there and listen to it. I'm like, I could dance to this.
Right.
Like, I could dance to Slayer.
I'm old enough to
I
where
could just be like,
I heard I think it was Seasons in the Abyss on XM radio coming home from Home Depot. Like in my wildest imaginations, if somebody would have said, Bill, in 20 years you'll be driving home from a home improvement store and they'll be playing Slayer on the radio, I would have thought, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't do home improvements. And there's no way you'll ever hear Slayer on the radio. But yeah, different times. Crazy.
It's great. I love Sirius Radio.
I do too. I've said this on the podcast before, no hate, but they're a little Dokken heavy for me on the House of Hair. It's like, yeah, I get it. I like Dokken and White Snake too. How about changing it up? There's only about a bajillion other bands in that era that were killer. You know, like Killer Dwarfs or, you know, Tora Tora or any of those guys, you know, any of those cool bands. But me and Wendy have a joke. It's like when we get in the car, I'll be like, Docking? Yeah. Break the chains. Yeah.
I don't know. I must have it because whenever I turn it on, it's always they're Motley Crue heavy. And,
They're very, yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, you know Motley Crue sucks. Right?
Right.
Like,
The older I get, the more I don't like Def Leppard. There, I said it out loud. They're harder for me to understand. And a lot of their songs, like, they plagiarize themselves. That song Rocket sounds like another song that they did, like, and it's just like,
yeah,
you can
actually,
even sing one set of lyrics to the other set of music.
it's
sometimes.
funny with Def Leppard because, you know, I love Pyromania so
High and
much.
Dry.
But High and Dry is like the best album they ever did.
Right. It was
It's
rock
like the
and
more
roll.
I listen to them, the older I gotta go to like actually like Def Leppard. It's like, man, you gotta get. I never liked his. I mean that album was garbage.
Yeah.
I mean when it came
That's
out,
like the Black Album.
it was just, you know, this was for the girls.
Right.
You just
right.
made this for girls.
Sometimes you got to write a chick album, I guess. I don't know. I never have.
You want to make $1 gazillion?
Right. And here we are, you know, with no Def Leppard money.
Yeah, criticizing that.
Right.
Like we wouldn't do
yeah,
that.
Those guys are lame. We wouldn't do that. Yeah, we would. I would
Yeah.
bleach all my jeans and cut holes
Hey,
in them.
Bill and John, you guys want to do a girl album
Right.
and we'll give you $1 gazillion?
Yeah,
Like,
man, all you got to do is wear bleached out ripped jeans. I'd be like, shit, I'll do that shit
yeah,
tomorrow.
I'll do it all day.
Right. Well, thanks again, John. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, my
Bobby,
pleasure.
thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. Thanks, John. Appreciate you, man.
Cool.